Hello and welcome to Monkey Knife Fight Live. Folks, I'm your host, Connor Rowntree, and today we are joined by Mitch Carl. DFS in Donuts is how you find them on Twitter. First of all, Mitch, how'd you come up with the name DFS in Donuts? That's just got to be known right off the bat.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like this is a really boring answer. At the time when I created it, I loved DFS and I love donuts. I mushed them together, and here we are, DFS and donuts.
Beautiful. I absolutely love that. So what's your favorite type of donut?
Listen, I hope this counts and qualifies. I'm a huge apple fritter fan. I get made fun of by a lot of my members because they say that's not an actual donut. That's a pastry. I don't think that's a donut. Yeah,
that doesn't count as a donut. I'm gonna ask the question one more time. What is your favorite donut? And then we're gonna move on.
Yeah, okay.
I'm not accepting the fritter. I don't.
Yeah, if I gotta go secondary, I'm going with like a blueberry, donut hole or something.
I like that. Just way out west. Just completely weird. I'm going the Boston cream donut. Just the classics. That's the way it is. My sparring. Let's learn a little bit more about this because I'm actually genuinely interested. I'm a huge baseball guy, so I'm actually so excited for this interview. So, where did you come up with the idea for my sparring, and then how has it moved into your own website, tracking all these different projections all the time?
Yeah, so I kind of was just thinking about ways to have it be kind of a tout-free site where it's based on models. And we all know that, models are only half of the battle when you're playing DFS or you're sports betting or you're on Monkey Knife Fight. And when you're doing these things, it's incredibly important to have something to kind of guide your path. And that's what I wanted Sparry to be. It's sports analysis, research, and insight. That's what Sparry stands for. So the entire operation over there is supposed to entirely be, here's a bunch of models that are providing you analysis based on our research, and the insight is the projections. Now, you can use this to guide your path, as I led off with. I don't think that these are always going to be the final answer. Now, we have a Monkey Knife Fight tool over there where we're able to identify, our projections versus the Monkey Knife Fight lines. For instance, I know that some of the stuff we're going to go over today is going to be talking about how many strikeouts Eduardo Rodriguez has today. And we project him for a little over 6 right now. I believe 6.3 strikeouts. So if you were to look at Eduardo Rodriguez on Monkey Knife Fight and his line is 5.5 strikeouts, well, you would take more at 6.3. So, and Connor and I spoke before the show, and I love what he said too. He made a really sharp point. Models are really good to, kind of show you what, might be a really good play today, but you still have to do your research beyond that. And I always think that is very important. Models are half the battle. And the other part, you should definitely be looking into why a model might be saying that.
Well, the Sparry, I'm looking through the site. It's absolutely awesome. And then if we get into the side of it, going into tonight's matchup, you mentioned Eduardo Rodriguez, 5.5 strikeouts on Monkey Knife Fight. He's thrown at least 6 strikeouts in 4 of his last 5 starts and 7 or more Ks in his last 2 starts against the Yankees. So is that why that strikeout line is up there, or what factors in to building the Sparry side of the projection?
Yeah, so I can't give away too much of the secret ingredients behind the model itself. But definitely it's 6.3 is a solid edge. I mean, you're looking at, it comes out to just quick math, about 12% increase over the line itself, which is a decent edge when you're looking for these things. Definitely trending statistics are going to be incredibly important. We're looking at like 14-day sample sizes. Those are often incredibly important when you're looking at the hitting aspect. When you're looking at pitchers, you're often going out between 4 and 5 starts, depending on how many days apart in the rotation that has been. But the two kind of mesh together with how the Yankees are versus lefties over the last month of baseball, how they've done against Erod in the past, how Erod has been against the Yankees, and just his current form. So it kind of all meshes together.
I love that. And does the fact that the Yankees strikeouts as a team, I mean, they're one of 11 teams with over 810 strikeouts. Obviously, that's got to factor into it as well. Or is it more looking at the specific players without giving away too much, of course?
Yeah, and I like that you said that, looking into the specific players, because this line actually might shift later in the day, our 6.3, implied strikeout total there, because depending on the Yankees starting lineup for tonight, which it may or may not be out, I have not seen it, that might shift, that might adjust based on who's in the lineup and where they are in the order. So I would definitely check back in, and we've left this totally free, and we're going to leave the MLB Monkey Knife Fight projections page totally free for the rest of summer. So for any of the Monkey Knife Fight users, this should be a nice source of information to kind of guide you through your daily fantasy over there at Monkey Knife Fight. And we hope that you guys use it. Now, when you're looking at a team like the Yankees, I think that you can actually be on both sides of some of the lines we're going to talk about today, where you can say, you know what, I think this guy's going to be over 1.5 total bases. And you could still also be on Erod to be, more than 5.5 strikeouts. So we're going to dive into that stuff, I know, as we get going here. But, the Sparry model is mostly what I use when I'm looking at the lines, and they just guide me to where I got to go. I'm very analytical with my decision making. And I know half the battle is finding a good model and the other half is doing your research. But my man, Connor, I am such a nerd that when I see a model tell me something, for me, it's like that's 80%. And then there's like 20% that I'll look into.
So we've talked about baseball, and I love how you're keeping it free for all the monkey knife fighters out there. Make sure you take advantage of this, guys. Sparry is absolutely awesome. I've only been looking at it for 24 hours, and I may or may not have helped it to make my picks for today's show. But let's learn a little bit more about it. So, Mitch, when did Sparry start? Where did you get to start with it? Was it baseball? Was it another sport? Because if you go through the website, you see NFL, you see NBA, you see the MLB. So just tell us a little bit more about the start and where the idea began. Where was the brainchild?
Yeah. So initially it started during the NBA season. It's just, we needed something more. A lot of my members wanted something that was going to help them with sports betting. And I have a lot of smart people around me, and I am not the smartest at all. I think I just do a really good job of gathering a community and putting smart people together. And that's what I did with the Sparry model. And some really smart people behind the closed doors made this model. And I just use it, man. I use it. I market it. I tweak things based on what I want to see on it. But it is not like my personal baby. I don't want to stand here and be like, I'm super smart, Connor. Make sure everybody listens to me. No, man, this is why I actually just believe in whatever the model tells me, because ultimately smarter people than I put this thing together during the NBA season. And mostly we were trying to get something to help us out with those player props. So when we're looking at, monkey knife fight saying 9.5 rebounds for Rudy Gobert, and we wanted a way to identify, how do we take this more or less? So that's where this actually spawned. And initial things started with monkey knife fight, and we've grown from there, and we do more sports, and we kind of cover sports betting as well now for sides, totals, money lines. We have models that give us a grade for the bets. Ultimately, we would like to land on some type of grade when we're looking at monkey knife fight lines as well. So when you're looking at the monkey knife fight model, if we're looking at Eduardo Rodriguez 5.5 pitching strikeouts and we have him at 6.3, we want a grade next to that so that you have some type of confidence level into each line itself.
That's absolutely fantastic. Everyone following at home, make sure you follow at DFS in Donuts. Jason can bring up his Twitter again right there. That is Mitch's Twitter, pardon me, and that's how you get in touch with him. And that's how a bunch of cool contests always coming out, cool stats, and obviously a very easy way to get on the Sparry. Now, the fun part of the show, getting into today's projections. We'll start it with Eduardo Rodriguez at 5.5 strikeouts. So I did my research before going on to Sparry, and I liked the more on this one simply because I said it. He's thrown six or more strikeouts in 4 of his last 5 starts. That's usually the sample size, like you said, when you're looking at starting pitchers. And in his last 2 starts against the Yankees, both around this summertime, he's thrown 7 or more strikeouts. So I like the more there. How did you see it on Sparry? And do you like the more yourself, Mitch?
Yeah, I had, Sparry model has him at 6.3. And, part of that was the last 14 days heading into the All-Star break. The Yankees, over the last 129 plate appearances against left-handed pitchers, they had a healthy 22.5 strikeout rate. So that was the research aspect I was looking at. I am slightly concerned about, they had a really solid WOBA. They were really starting to hit the ball a little bit better going into break. They had a 399 WOBA against lefties over those last 14 days against left-handed pitchers. So that's actually why, as we start to look at some of these players that we're going to look at today, there's a lot of these Yankee hitters that we actually also have as more for their RBIs and walks, for their total bases. But the strikeout rate, that's going to be up there as usual. It's the Yankees, and that's what they do best. So.
Oh, yeah. Well, as we mentioned, we hit on it earlier in the show. They're one of 11 teams with over 810 strikeouts this season, and I like them to add at least 6 more tonight. So make sure you take more on Eduardo Rodriguez, at least for the model side and my opinion. Getting into DJ LeMahieu now we get to start to break down the hitting side of things. How do you see his hitting line? He's at 1.5 hits and walks. He had 4 walks his last game against the Houston Astros, and he's collected 16 hits against Rodriguez, hitting over 300 in his career. How do you think that plays into his factor into his line tonight?
Yeah, I think you led with some really interesting stats. The model has him at 1.48, so not entirely swinging you in either direction. And I've always been a big fan of when you have these situations that there's no clear model direction to go. You got to dive into the numbers and see what type of history he has against the pitcher, what type of current trend or current form that the batter is in. I lean toward the batters in those situations when they're hot and they're seeing the ball well. I'll often lean towards them. So today I'm going with Moore for those reasons. I think that DJ LeMahieu is starting to round into form, and I think the second half could be a nice one for him. Guy who smashed the ball last year with, I think, finished like a 330 average. So I'm hedging my bets today and hoping that my Yankees fandom isn't showing too much here, and that DJ LeMahieu hits the Moore at 1.5.
Oh, no. We got a Yankees fan and a Blue Jays fan on the same podcast, rocking the Vladdy Jr. t-shirt. That is your MVP, youngest MVP in the history of the All-Star game. I am also taking more on the 1.5 line from DJ LeMahieu. He's seeing the ball great right now, or at least he was heading into the All-Star break. As we said, 4 walks against the Houston Astros. That's a pretty significant number. That is your featured more or less contest for the day on Monkey Knife Fight. Make your pick. You can see your buy-in there, and all you need to do from there is head down and hit submit, and you are in to win. Now, another projection, one of the biggest names in the game, Aaron Judge, 1.5 total bases tonight. He's hitting just 160 against Rodriguez and has just 1 knock in his last 8 at-bats. Sparry, tell me something. I needed to hear it from Mitch. I want to see it from Sparry. I want to see you. Where's the math going here, Mitch?
Yeah, brother. So I get it. And data say the numbers, the recent trends are telling you to not touch Judge or take the less. I'm more. Sparry has him at 1.93. Aaron Judge heading into the break against lefties at a 641 WOBA and a 769 ISO. Now, that was a small sample size, 15 at bats, 15 plate appearances, but the strikeout rate has been down 13.3% over the 2 weeks heading into All-Star break. So I think that Judge maybe is due for a nice day today. And if the model is also aligning with some of these statistics I'm finding here, I feel pretty confident in that one, 1.93 for total bases. So I'm taking more.
I see that this is where I'm now really interested in, because from the statistical standpoint, I'm seeing Aaron Judge struggling against this pitcher, 1 hit in his last 8 at-bats, and then the Sparry side is coming in at more. So obviously there's so much research and so much going into that I'm going to trust you on this one. So this is going to be the breaking point. I'm going to be sending out a tweet. You'll see it tonight after this match, and it will be either DFS and donuts is the greatest thing to ever happen, or it's time to dunk in those donuts and ship them out. And getting into JD Martinez now, another heavy bat, obviously the counterpart to Aaron Judge. I love how these two are actually matched up with each other on Monkey Knife Fight. I gave Jason a bit of a heart attack in the background there. 5 hits in his last 5 games, including 6 RBI and 2 runs scored. We're looking at his hits and walks line, I do believe, and he is second on the Boston Red Sox in batting average, RBI, and home runs. I think he's going to be a factor tonight, especially if the Red Sox need to get going. I think I have him for more with how hot he's been. Where does the model come in, Mitch? And then where do you come in?
Yeah, Sparry model's right there. Same as DJ LeMahieu, where there's really no lean in either direction. 1.44, that is nothing compared to a 1.5 line. So I dug into the statistics, and, I'm right there with you. I'm taking more on Martinez, 446 WOBA, 400 ISO over the last 32 plate appearances. Heading into the All-Star break, the guy was shredding the baseball. And, listen, JD Martinez is the heart and soul of this offense, no matter who is hot and who is not in this offense. I think the offense will go wherever JD Martinez is. So I think that I'm taking more at 1.5 runs and RBIs for sure.
Well, another player that I just wanted to touch on and something to watch on Monkey Knife Fight, if there is any contest with Gleyber Torres, he has 3 home runs and he's hitting 368 against Rodriguez. There's a little side research. So if you'd like to use a hit parade on Monkey Knife Fight, and if you just see a line on that, maybe hit Gleyber Torres. And now I'm going to ask you, Mitch, put you right on the spot. Where do you see Gleyber Torres, and where does the projection have him coming in tonight? And what do you like him to do tonight?
I love that you put me on the spot. It gives me an opportunity to try to see exactly how functional the website is. So I quickly was panicking, and I went to the search function and I typed in Torres, and it popped up his stats, and I made it nice and easy for me. So now I'm no longer freaking out here. Walks and hits at 1.22. So we have that would be less than the walks and hits 1.5 line over on Monkey Knife Fight. Total bases at 1.02, and runs and RBI at 0.72. So I am going to lean heavily on the model here, because also Gleyber Torres heading into the break against lefties was miserable.
There it is. Boom. I see. That's what I love about this model. I'm going to have so much fun just going back and forth. Now, Alex Verdugo, pardon me. Geez, we almost butchered that name. Total bases 1.5 on Monkey Knife Fight. Where do you see that coming in tonight?
Yep. Sparry has him at 1.66. Verdugo has been seeing the ball well. I mean, he had 396 WOBA over his last 33 plate appearances heading into break against right-handed pitchers, 15.2% strikeout rate, nice and low, a high walk rate of 12.1%. That was actually the third highest on the entire slate between the two teams over the last 14-day sample size. So, I mean, the guy's going to be able to get on base based on, a myriad of different factors if we're going data only. And the Sparring model has him at 1.66, so I'm more 1.5 bases.
Yeah, I agree with you on that. Just looking at the walk line, because it is the 1.5 bases, right, folks? So if he hits a double, you automatically get that with one swing of the bat. So just keep that in mind at home. So I think with the opportunity, I think we said it, both of us think it's going to be a high scoring game, despite the strikeouts. I think there's going to be a lot of wood. I think there's going to be a lot of knocks, and I'd like him to go for more as well. Now, breaking in, Mitch, is there anything else that you want to touch on Monkey Knife Fight through the contest? Because I brought up the fact that you could probably mix this in with instead of just the more or less contests, you can make this into a rapid fire, and you can do this for the hit parade, as I mentioned before, to see who are the best hitters in a matchup. So if we were to look at a hit parade tonight, who do you think you would take, Mitch? And through your model on Sparry, who do you think the best hitters are to look at tonight? As I said, I like Gleyber Torres. I like Luke Voigt, and I like JD Martinez. But if we're not going to touch JD Martinez, I mean, Rafael Devers is smashing the ball right now.
Yeah. So my top three would be Judge, Martinez, and Bogart, simply because they have the highest projected walk hit totals today. But that, if you want to look at it, there's another way to look at it. I've never actually thought of this, and I like being put on the spot here, is looking at the total bases for the Sparry model. If you think about it, if you're looking at someone like JD Martinez, that's a good thing to line up. Not only is he top three for the walks and hits total tonight, but he's the top total bases projection at 2.14. So conceivably, you're looking at a guy who's likely getting a double or multiple base hits. He's getting on base multiple times because he's over 2 total bases. So that is also probably not a bad way to look at the model, in which case we would go with Martinez, Devers, and Bogarts. But I'm not entirely sure. Last time I checked, you can't go 3 of the same team, can you?
No, you have to have at least one player mixed in. It's got to be 1 and 2.
Yeah, so Martinez, Bogarts, and Judge would be mine.
I like that. Talking about Xander Bogaerts, we're going to switch things over and look at the fantasy point side. His line on Monkey Knife Fight is 3.5 fantasy points. Now, how do you track fantasy points through Sparry? Is there a simple conversion rate, or is there something a little more that you look for, Mitch?
Yeah, so, this is the next iteration of what we want to do. This is partially why we're also leaving the tool free for the remainder of the summer. We whipped this thing up a couple of weeks ago, and while it's free, it allows us to test things. So we've been testing projections on the back end specific for Monkey Knife Fight, and those will be added likely in the beginning of August, and they'll stay free right up until the NFL season. For now, what I have just been doing is the old-fashioned way and looking at what is the amount of points that this comes out to with a little calculator action. So it's not totally suited for fantasy points just yet publicly.
Well, it will be. That's the most important thing. Right. So make sure you get it done. Oh my goodness. Grady Sass, our producer, is roasting me on my enunciation of the names. Thank you, Grady, for that one. I absolutely love you, buddy. Now, getting into now, if we look at it, it's 3.5 fantasy points. Xander Bogaerts is, for the lack of a better term, on fire. He's leading the Red Sox in batting average, and he's got back-to-back home runs in his last 2 games played. How do you think it goes tonight? I think with one home run alone on Monkey Knife Fight is worth 4 fantasy points. So 6 knocks in his last 4 games on a 4-game hit streak. I'm going to have to take more than the 3.5 fantasy points on Xander Bogaerts on Monkey Knife Fight just by looking at everything. And what are you looking for, though? Because for me, on Monkey Knife Fight, when I'm looking at the batter, I'm looking for the hits. The hits are what really driving the points. 1 point for a single, 2 points for a double, on and so forth, 4 points for a home run. So that's what really was driving me. Go ahead, Mitch.
Yeah, sorry to interject. I would say for sure that while I'm looking at the scoring and stuff too on the side, someone like Xander, I can definitely take more at 3.5, because not only is he projected for 2.05 total bases, but we have him at 1.26 runs and RBIs. And again, these are median projections, right? So you can look at them as a guide to look into different aspects of what the model is telling you. And then when you do that and you see Xander in this matchup tonight, you see his splits over the last 14 days heading into break. I think that there's an opportunity for him to definitely hit the more at 3.5.
Thank you so much, Mitch. We absolutely love hearing that. Now, the Yankees, they haven't named a starting pitcher for the day. It should be Jordan Montgomery. his line isn't on Monkey Knife Fight just yet, but in case it does come up, where do you think the users should go for a comfortable strikeout line there? What do you like for him, just in case that line does come on, so everyone at home is listening?
I would imagine that would be kind of low against the Boston, probably around like 4.5 or so.
Where do you think, what would you take on a 4.5 line? Would you like the more or the less on that?
The less.
The less? 100%.
Yeah,
You didn't even hesitate.
I would probably take him up to about 3. Honestly, I just don't see him having much success against this lineup tonight. And, they got a bunch of guys who can smash left-handed pitchers. And, some of these guys have really good splits against lefties as well. I mean, Devers has been mashing lefties all year. And Verdugo, once he gets that back going, this offense just chugs along, man.
Yeah, Verdugo is in absolutely great form, as we hit on earlier. JD Martinez, it's going to be a high-scoring game. It's going to be a fun one, and it's a great way to welcome back baseball. Now, just to pick your brain a little bit, what were your biggest takeaways from the All-Star game?
That I really, man, and I don't want to sound like a guy that picks on the game. I really don't, but man, I want the game to be faster. I just want the game to speed up a little bit, because I want to see the superior athletes at the pinnacle of their careers, playing one of the best sports in history. But I want them playing faster, and I want to see them do more of it. It's just stepping out of the batter's box forever and doing all their own little things and taking too much time on the mound. And I'm sure there's a lot of baseball purists who are like, that's it. DFS and Donuts is dead to me. But for me, like, I need things to speed up, man. And I don't know if it's the sports betting aspect that's ruined my life. DFS is ruining me for sports, but like, I want to see more action. Because I have action on the line. I got skin in the game, and I just want more of it.
What about the home run derby?
That's an interesting question.
Oh, for me, Vladimir Guerrero Jr. as a diehard Blue Jay fan, I'm wearing the t-shirt right now when he was at the All-Star game with his dad. Pretty cool moment to see that finally come full circle, especially as just a fan of the Blue Jays and being Canadian. So that was a really cool moment. But going back, I think to hit on the action point, that home run derby was awesome.
That was the best. It was
Pete Alonso was on a mission. The way he was getting the crowd involved, it was great to see 50,000 people screaming, and the fact it was in Colorado, so those balls were going places.
Yeah, no joke.
What do you think? What did you think of the derby, and who'd you have going in? Let's be honest now.
I had Joey Gallo.
I was
very excited. I had Joey Gallo. I thought, he won 2 years ago. I thought he had another chance to do so in Coors Field, and so I was on Gallo.
I think I'm gonna never bet against Pete Alonso again in the home run derby. I took Matt Olson. He was just mashing heading in. I like Matt Olson. He's got a good smile. He looks like a nice guy.
Yeah, great odds too. I think he was like plus 800 or something.
Yeah, I think it was 800, 8-1, maybe around 9-1 margin. And $100, there's 90, just cool $90, just like that. Mm-hmm. Getting back in towards Monkey Knife Fight, folks. Make sure you follow DFS and Donuts. It's that simple. Mitch just went through all those contests, all those games on Monkey Knife Fight where you guys can have some fun and seriously just match them up. Line, boom. If it says 1.5, do some homework and then decide what side you're on. But it does work, and we will see it tonight in action when I'm tweeting at Mitch about JD Martinez, because that's going to be the game breaker for DFS and Donuts, I feel. Mitch, thank you so much for joining us on this week's show.
I appreciate it. Thank you very much, Connor. Thank you, MKF team, and good luck, everybody.
And everyone listening at home, Mitch will be on air every Friday with his projections, talking baseball for Monkey Knife Fight. So make sure you tune in to DFS and Donuts on the Fridays. Mitch, thank you so much, man. For everyone sitting at home, thank you so much for tuning in. I'm Connor Rowntree, and remember to hit it hard.